My name is Stephen Blake, and for the majority of my adult life I was an air traffic controller and recently retired and looking for new opportunities. I always loved working in TV. I've done a few things over the years. I was on a couple of quiz shows. I was on 15 to 1 with William G. Stewart, and the very first thing I did was a 10-inch lager commercial down in Ayr Harbour. Ayer's where I come from, in the southwest of Scotland. So I say a couple of quiz shows. Myself and my wife were on Bargain Hunt many years ago when we were the Red Team with David Dickinson. And a couple of years ago I was an extra on Storage Hunters UK with Sean Kelly, who I believe was quite a big star, although I have to admit until the day before I'd never heard of him. So say looking for opportunities, available, retired, and I'd love to do more work within TV, possibly movies, possibly adverts, and thanks for listening. There's an old joke. Two elderly women are at a Catskill Mountain resort, and one of them says, "Boy, this place is really terrible," and the other one says, "Yeah, I know, and such small portions." Well, that's essentially how I feel about life, full of loneliness and misery and suffering and unhappiness, and it's all over much too soon. The other all-important joke for me is one that's usually associated with Groucho Marx, but originally appears, I think, in Freud's Wit and its relation to the unconscious, and it goes like this, and I'm paraphrasing: "I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member." That's the key joke of my adult life and my relationships with women. Just, you know, that lately the strangest things have been going through my mind because I turned 40 and I guess I'm going through a life crisis or something. I don't know. I'm not worried about aging. I'm not one of those characters, you know. I'm balding slightly on top, and that's the worst you can say about me. I think I'm going to get better as I get older, you know. I think I'm going to be the balding, virile type, you know, as opposed to the distinguished grey, for example. You know, less of neither of those two. Less of one of those guys with saliva dribbling from his mouth, going into a cafeteria with a shopping bag, screaming about socialism. Annie and I broke up, and I still can't get my mind around that. You know, I keep shifting the pieces of the relationship through my mind, examining my life, and trying to figure out where the screw-up come. You know, a year ago, we were in love, you know, and it's funny, I'm not a morose type, I'm not a depressive character. You know, I was a reasonably happy kid, I guess. I was brought up in Brooklyn during the Second World War. The end.